Greetings. My name is Salim Ali, and I am a professor of environmental planning at the University of Delaware in the US. And I've also held a chair at the University of Queensland in Australia, focused on sustainable resource development. I'm sorry I can't be there in person regarding this important workshop on mercury reduction in the gold mining sector, but I wanted to offer some thoughts as someone who has worked in the international arena looking at the issue of mercury reduction. Since the advent of the Minamata Protocol on mercury reduction, there is growing interest in finding alternatives to mercury usage in different processes. Artisanal gold mining, in particular, remains a very significant user of mercury. Now, artisanal miners are exposed to the occupational hazards of mercury, and it is quite appropriate for us to consider different chemical as well as physical techniques that can reduce the usage of mercury in this sector. In this regard, gravimetric techniques have been suggested as well, which require certain kinds of magnetic properties of ore bodies to be utilized in agglomerating gold. There is also the opportunity to have chemical separation. And in this regard, of course, at the large-scale mining sector, cyanide has been widely utilized. The use of cyanide is also growing at the artisanal and small-scale level. And in this regard, also, the work of companies like Orica would be very important to consider how the large-scale sectoral usage of cyanide can be brought to the micro level. We, of course, need to be conscious of the toxicity of cyanide as well. The large-scale mining industry has signed on to the International Cyanide Code, which has been a very effective mechanism for managing and monitoring cyanide usage. Our research center at the University of Queensland did an evaluative study of certification systems a couple of years ago, which was funded by the Tiffany and Company Foundation. And in that, we profiled some of the work of the International Cyanide Code, which showcased that this has been a very effective mechanism for certifying large-scale mines. The challenge will be how such certification systems and other means of enforcement can monitor small-scale mines. Now, Orica's technology, I'm very keen to follow its development and application in the artisanal and small-scale sector. I think groups in Colombia who have been vigilant in monitoring clean technologies for gold extraction, particularly Oro Verde, who are hopefully represented at this conference, the Alliance for Responsible Mining, they should be keenly engaged by the Colombian industry as well as by the Colombian government to make sure that the application of this technology is effective and assured and that communities remain protected. So I remain hopeful and I look forward to monitoring this process, because if it can work in Colombia, it has great promise for other countries that are trying to comply with the Minamata Convention obligations. So in short, the key aspect of cyanide management will need to be the ways in which the cyanide is recovered once the gold extraction has taken place, how it can then be safely either disposed or decomposed. Cyanide does not bioaccumulate as mercury does. So that is a positive aspect of cyanide, that it does not go up the food chain and becomes biopersistent and cause long-term toxicity. But cyanide does cause short-term, high-level toxicity, which can impact both humans and other organisms. So the key will be managing this short-term toxicity. And I am very keen to follow this technology and how it can be implemented. In terms of the overall international processes, I am also involved in the International Resource Panel of the United Nations Environment Program, and we have been considering novel ways in which resources can be extracted and more efficiently utilized. And in terms of gold extraction, that remains an important area for further inquiry, because gold extraction remains one of the most inefficient overall in terms of any metal. The amount of waste generated per unit of metal extracted is extremely large. And so, efficiencies that can be brought into that system and provide livelihoods, those are the real win win outcomes. So, one can argue that gold extraction at the small scale, which can utilize this kind of technology, provide livelihoods for potentially millions of artisanal miners worldwide, that has tremendous potential as long as it can be done with care, with persuasion that there can be risk management. So, I, as a researcher in environmental planning, as someone who has worked closely with Colombian collaborators, as well as work closely with industry, look forward to following this technology. I will look forward to hearing from Austrade and Orica about the outcome of the workshop. I hope that this will also provide an opportunity for the Colombian mining industry to substantively engage with us in academia, both in Colombia through universities such as the National University, through Los Andes, both public and private sector universities, to work with us on important research projects which can evaluate the efficacy of such technologies. Because ultimately, communities are only going to be assured if they see that there is some objective evaluation of the effectiveness of such technologies. So there's a very important role for academics and researchers to play in this regard, to make sure that the communities feel that the management of risks is being done consistently through international standards, through peer review, and that the companies themselves and the government is also assured that their technologies do not come back to create potential legal challenges for them. So we look forward to following this. We hope this will lead to further collaborations. I can be reached by email, and my contact details will be made available through Austrade. So thank you for your interest in my work and very best wishes for the workshop.